Thank you. Okay, the fun or scary fact is this is my first conference in English, so depending on who you ask, it will be fun or terrifying. Okay, not to take a lot of time talking about this and about me or about my company, the company which I work for, but just to tell you a little bit about who I am. I work at FEMSA. I'm responsible for the SOC, security operations process. Well, the titles just keep adding up. The incident response team, the vulnerability management, the threat hunting. So I know that's not how it should be done, but no one is doing that type of activity, so they have been adding it to my responsibilities. And I'm very passionate about all those topics, so it's hard to let them go. But I do like to be the manager and the threat hunting part. The people that knows me from Mexico know that I'm a big fan of the MITRE ATT&CK framework and threat hunting in particular. So that's kind of my passion at work. I have some certifications, 3, 4 letters, it depends. I also like to teach classes at different universities in Mexico, and I have been lucky enough to have been invited to give talks in Spanish, not in English, in South America and in Mexico, and this is my first talk in the States, so yeah, it's no pressure at all. So I like to share a lot of information, news, and a lot of different attacks and techniques I see on social networks, on Twitter especially. So I like sharing a lot of that information and having discussions about how it works and how to prevent or detect that. Okay, and as I said, I work for FEMSA. Who is FEMSA? We are, FEMSA is a corporate holding for different business units. Maybe the most famous one is Coca-Cola FEMSA, which is the largest Coca-Cola bottler in the world. We also have FEMSA Comercio that owns different fast food chains, the largest gas stations in Mexico, and the largest convenience stores chain in Latin America. We have around 20,000 stores in Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Chile. So it's kind of big. We are around 300,000 employees in all the companies from FEMSA. And I'm responsible for the SOC. We don't see all the countries or all the business units, but we see the main data centers and the main corporate units in Mexico specifically. So yeah, that's part of what FEMSA does. Last year, I was sitting where you are right now as a prospect client or customer for Exabeam in Las Vegas in the previous spotlight. And it really opened our eyes on the opportunities that Exabeam brought, especially when we were in the middle of an evaluation of 7 different SIEM solutions. The SOC at FEMSA has been maturing for the last 3 or 4 years, but we were more focused on network monitoring, and we didn't have a SIEM solution, which I'm ashamed to say that. But we decided 2 years ago to change that. So we started doing an evaluation of different solutions. We started with 3, and word spread that we were doing that. We ended up with 7 different solutions, evaluating 7 different solutions. So we decided we didn't want it to be so big. It was an 18 months project, so in the end, it was really big on on the scope of the evaluation, we decided to do 2 phases. One phase, a control phase on our laboratory, where we were testing all the correlation rules and all the models in Exabeam's case. And that we gave each company 1 month to do that. And the second phase, to the ones that qualified for the second phase, we wanted to have as little companies solutions to test in the end. We only got one of the solutions out in the second phase. So in the second phase, we did 6 different SIEMs. The second phase test involves 6 SIEM solutions. And the second phase was on our data center with live data from our different controls that we have in place in Mexico in the data center. So testing that last year, we noticed that all the speakers in the conference were focused on using Exabeam above another SIEM solution, and we were going for the whole Exabeam experience and not putting above something else. So we didn't have anything to compare it, and it was kind of hard to compare traditional SIEMs to Exabeam, for example. So we decided to try to compare not apples with oranges, but apples with apples, either fewer apples or a whole box of apples. We decided to try that. In the end, it worked. It also helped that what Nir said in the keynote yesterday, that in 2 years, Exabeam went from not appearing in the Magic Quadrant to being in the Visionaries, and in December of last year, being in the Leaders Quadrant. That also helped us to feel very comfortable with the decision. We decided that we wanted Exabeam because we liked what we saw in the UEBA solution in Exabeam, and we wanted to go further, not only have a traditional SIEM, but to have a user and entity behavior analytics solution in our SOC. And seeing this document from Gartner made us feel also really comfortable that we did a good election on Exabeam, and we shared that vision that in a few years, the SIEM and the UEBA would be the same solution. So that's part of the decision process we did. Why did we decide Exabeam? We liked that it had over 600 machine learning models preloaded. That's one of the things we were trying to look for, since we didn't have, we have a small team in the SOC, so we didn't want all the people in the SOC working on the installation and configuration and tuning of Exabeam. We wanted to be able to use as a small team and as few time that we could. So we felt that Exabeam gave us the best chance in that area, and we wanted to reduce our time to detect, time to alert, and our time to respond. We have several SLAs with our internal clients. Usually we have less than 60 minutes to do all of that. So we were doing that by hand, by going to each data source and doing the confirmation of the possible incident step by step by hand. So having all the information in the same interface helped us a lot and helped us reduce a lot that SLA time we have already compromised with our clients. And that's part of what I'm going to show you after I'm done talking about the reasoning of the decision. What we liked a lot of Exabeam, how quick we could bring data sources, new data sources from different business units to Exabeam, and in a couple of weeks be already using the tool with that information. So we didn't, as I said, we didn't start connecting all of FEMSA into Exabeam. We are doing it in different phases. And one thing that I will show you that happened is exactly that the largest business unit decided to join us a year before scheduled. So that made my project go from, 3 months to 6 months, and we were able to do it in only 4 months. And also the licensing per user was one of the things that we really, really like. It helped us sell it internally to the different business units. But it also brought several challenges. The first is that my team didn't have a data scientist or a data analyst, and our internal clients, once they understood what Exabeam was and how it could help us, they decided, okay, how long will it take you to start fixing or creating customized models for me to detect not only bad behavior on the security side, but also on fraud, for example. One of the retail business unit is interested in using Exabeam for fraud also. So that we weren't expecting that so quick. So that's one of the challenges. The other challenge is that we have a lot of legacy systems, legacy applications that aren't as easy to connect, and we've been working on that side. I'm going to show a video of one of those scripts and automation we've done for some reports on legacy systems, and how Exabeam has helped us reduce that time for creating the report. The other challenge we've had is the identifying unique users. Us having a really complex environment and different, you can almost think of any database, any operating system, and I'm quite sure that we will have one machine in our network that has that. So it's not easy to protect and detect abnormal behavior in that scenario. So that's part of our environment and what we have to deal with. We also had to change and update our SOC and incident response processes and create an insider threat program, which we're working on because it really changed the way we see our incidents. All our incidents previously were based on an IP and now an IP address, and now everything starts with first name and last name. So that changed a lot how we react and how we respond, especially with the VIPs. We connected several data sources. Those are some of the controls we connected, and we keep getting more and more new data sources and different data sources. We are almost done with the first phase. This is 10,000 feet view from the project. As I said, we started this year on March. The decision was on the 24th of December. We sent the letter letting know all the 7 companies who won and who lost. So on the 24th of December, some of the guys here were really happy, but I have 6 companies sending me Merry Christmas emails. Not exactly like that, but yeah. And no, and everyone was on vacation. I was the only one in the office on the 24th, and yeah, it was fun also. Another fun fact. So after all that, on March we started the project. We connected all data sources from the phase one on March. On April we moved our operation completely to Exabeam. On May we detected our first 0 day, and I put it on quote because it was a 0 day for Symantec. So it wasn't really a 0 day, but for one of the controls that we use, Exabeam helped us detect it, and it was interesting for us because usually it would have taken us maybe 2 or 3 days to detect that, but we saw it with Exabeam on the spot on the same day. And on June, as I said, our largest business unit decided to join the project a year before schedule, and that did what that did to us was to almost triple the amount of resources and users that we are trying to connect. So we're still working with that part of the project. We connected in July that phase 2 data sources to Exabeam from that business unit. And on July, okay, we said we are done connecting what we have scheduled to connect in the project. We can now start doing automation and threat hunting. And basically, we went from this, monitoring everything by hand, based mainly on the network controls we have, on the network sensors. If we saw something in the network sensors, we checked the endpoint solution, or we checked the servers, or depending on which type of incident it appeared to be. But we were around 74 minutes for each incident. I said earlier that our SLA was 60 minutes. That's the current SLA, but it changed this year thanks to Exabeam. The previous one was 90 minutes. So that's what helped us decide to make it shorter. And now my clients are asking me to bring it to 45 minutes. And I said, once I have a SOAR or the incident responder, I will try and do that, but not right now. And right now we are doing, because right now with Exabeam, now it's 43 minutes, my average time to detect and to alert the business units. Because now everything is in the same interface. The timeline helped us a lot. We dreamt about having something like that, and now we have it, and now we can do it in 43 minutes. This is a comparison with, on the green line is Exabeam, the time in minutes for each month on different incidents or possible incidents, and the blue one is how much time it would have taken us to do it with only the network monitoring and doing everything by hand. And another thing that we realized is that we were really based or focused on the network monitoring, as I said, and we were really focused on that type of controls. But when you check the number of data sources and compare it to techniques on the MITRE ATT&CK matrix, you see that the top 3 techniques are process monitoring with 149 techniques, file monitoring, and process command with 86 and 82 techniques. And all 3 of those are host-based information, not network-based information. So we have done a lot of work on having more visibility on the endpoint, and fortunately for us, Exabeam helps us do this. So when we saw this, that was the first thing we realized. We have to stop being so dependent on all the network infrastructure, security infrastructure we have, and we need to focus more on have more visibility on endpoints. And how are we doing this? First, we started looking and requesting the data dictionaries for all the data sources that we have, as many as we could get our hands on the data sources I showed earlier. And we started documenting it aligned to the OSEM, which is a great project that in the end, it helps you map all the event logs you're using to the different attack data sources. I really suggest this as an option for doing that. And it helps you have a really clear view of what each event means and how it is mapped to each technique if you're planning to use the attack framework for detection of, and for threat hunting also. The second thing we did is we asked Exabeam for a file or something that had the rules mapped against the attack techniques. We got a copy of a document, and we saw it. We started using that as our base for all our automation, and we have been working on this one because the document we got was included 50 techniques. Did the comparison or the relations between all the Exabeam rules to 50 attack techniques. And this is once you create the heat map using that 50 techniques file. But we saw in April this webinar from Exabeam that said that Exabeam has the potential to cover 120 of the 234 techniques. So we've been trying to increase this document because we are sure that it's not only 50 techniques, as you said, as you saw, it's more, it could be even more. And we've been also working on the data sources to increase this detection. So based on that, this is the coverage of the matrix that Exabeam, that file that was shared with us by our great team from Exabeam in Mexico and from our partner, Pravia. They help us get to this place, but we want more. So one of the things we realized also, I was really lucky to take the course with the SpectreOps guys on the detection. One of the things that the discussions in that course was that we shouldn't be trying to build a wall when you try to fill the attack matrix from MITRE. We, instead of trying to build a wall, no relation to any politics or anything, we should, maybe that's why I don't like that idea. I should build I should build a minefield, and it makes sense. And especially in Mexico, if you build a wall, we will go under it or above it. We kind of are good at that, don't know why. But a minefield is different, and that also goes to the attackers. Of course, what I would love to have is everything in green, but I'm not sure that would be possible. This is an updated version of the same heat map that we have been working on, and we are about to do an update once we're done with that Excel file I showed you with 50 models. But I'm expecting to see a lot more color there. And the other thing we're doing in the team is using also the Palantir's ADS framework, the alert detection and strategy framework, to help us reduce the number of false positives and to have really a really good view of each new alert we are incorporating to Exabeam, going beyond the 600 models and rules. Now that we are being asked to create new ones, we're trying to align to this Palantir's framework. There's a lot of good information in the GitHub from Palantir and a lot of good examples. If I have some time in the 18 minutes, okay. I could show you, for example, they have a PowerShell example of creating this alert and detection strategy, and also one, if you're a Mac user, for the little snitch on how to detect it. Those are really good examples of this framework. So when we had time to play with the new toys in our SOC, what we did was we started automating report generation of all the users. As I said, my SLA is right now 60 minutes. And for those of you that use advanced analytics, the shorter amount of time you can see in the dashboard is, in the advanced analytic dashboard, is 1 day. I know we can go to the data lake and play with that, but we decided to create a report that does it automatically. And also, when we have to change the team, because they are doing the night shift or the day shift or whatever, we leave them, we print, not print, we generate this report and we share it so they know what has been going on the last hour, the last 6 hours, and 12 hours. After we started creating this report, we started we've been doing everything with Python. We process and classify each user based on the techniques that the user triggered. So now that we have that model to technique correlation, and we know which models are being triggered by each user, we are automatically, with the scripting, we are generating the heat map for each notable user each hour. That helps us in 2 ways. We are storing that for historic analysis, and also it can help us when we do threat hunting. We can say, for example, I think there's a user that is being targeted by this campaign. We know which techniques that campaign is triggering. All we have to do is do a search on the historic analysis of our attack matrix database, and we see which users have those techniques triggered historically. So I'm going to show you a video of how we do that. And as I said, we can compare each generated heat map for each user to known bats and to previous incidents. And also, we can customize or give different values or ranks to different techniques or combination of techniques, depending on what is worrying each business unit or for some notable users. For example, this is a generated heat map for a user that triggered all those. I'm sorry that you don't see it that much, but you already should know the whole matrix by memory. I'm expecting that from you. Joking. But well, if you oh no, it won't work. But yeah, each one of those colors is a technique, depending on the persistence, on the privilege escalation, defense evasion, etc. So that's the generated heat map by our script based on the triggers, on the rules triggered by a user. So this is the first video I can show you where, I mean, it's just a Python script running. It's not that much fun, but we create for each user the matrix with a JSON. It ends having a JSON file that we go to the attack navigator, and we can show it. That part we're still working. That's not a script. That's one of my analysts doing it by hand. But we're trying. Well, I think it's quite fast. So maybe he already automated, but it was done by hand. So that's how it looks for each user, and we're storing that. So in the end, that's like a matrix that can be parsed, and we can compare it on the fly. So it helps us a lot, for example, for threat hunting, besides having also Exabeam, where we can do the threat hunting that we've been seeing on the different talks from yesterday and today. The second, am I on time? The second video is okay. I think this is, yeah, this is the second one. The second video is another script we developed. Maybe I didn't say it, but we are getting everything from the Exabeam API directly from using Python. Again, we parse the information that the API sends us, and we have for each user the TTPs that are being triggered and the risk score also, so we can arrange that by user, by day, by hour. This is simulated data from, we changed the name to protect the not so innocent, but this is part of what we're doing. And just to remind you, we have been only working with this for like the last 2 months or 3 months. So we are starting to exploit, and the choices and the ability to do this, we didn't have it before, and Exabeam has really helped us a lot on that part, and we are, my team is so excited to have new toys. So, and that's why I changed the name of the talk to a sock with new toys, because yeah, it was like Christmas when we started using this after having to do everything by hand, as we say in Mexico. And the last one, the last one is we had to do a report each hour, and based on network traffic that went through an F5 box, that we had to search for anomalous traffic based on IP, port, and source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and the web service that was being triggered. So it was no fun at all. Sometimes it took from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And if we did it each hour, you can imagine how that sums up. When we used Exabeam to create this same report, we managed to bring the time to create the report to 8 minutes. So that's another way that we really were able to reduce the time. I'm not sure how, I just added this early in the morning. I'm not sure if it's going to be, if you're going to be able to capture how helpful this is for us. But when this worked for us was like another Christmas for us, because it really helped us. At least the guy that was in charge of doing all this report by hand, now he only has to type a script, and when it's done, type a second script. So yeah, it was no fun at all doing it. But reducing anyone's task from an hour and a half to 8 minutes, it's a lot of money saved. And what's in the future for us? SOAR solution, Incident Responder solution. We're working with that. So we expect to have even less time to do these tasks and more time to play and hunt on our network. And that's what my team really likes doing. So I think that's all I have. Thank you. Do you have any questions? I hope I was able to communicate in not my natural language, but I tried to.
One of the slides you had on there, what your SOC process incident response was before. I was actually just curious, what was your process before and after you implemented Exabeam?
Okay, the process did change. The steps, as I said before, we were mainly monitoring Panorama, for example. And if we saw something anomalous on Panorama, then we had to see what type of incident it was. And okay, if it's something in an endpoint, go check the antivirus or whatever solution was triggered. We didn't have real-time visibility of all those. So we had one of my analysts, okay, check every hour the logs for the antivirus, for the web filtering, for all the solutions. Yeah, exactly. So just by having a SIEM solution, you earn some time. But having Exabeam has helped us reduce it even further with this automation. And we didn't have to create yet one rule or model or change one rule of model to get this savings. Yeah. With some of the other solutions, we would have to do a lot of correlation rules or writing. Did save us a lot of time. And when the largest business unit decided to join the project, my project went from this to this, and I wasn't expecting that in the middle of the implementation. So when you have a deadline on your project that we didn't have to move, even with the project going like twice the size, trusting that tool to be able to do that and say, okay, let's not move our deadline, let's try and do this. And we connected even faster the second time all the data sources. So the process before, as I said, was everything by hand. After, what did change was the part on how we noticed that we did have some process for employee fraud and that, but it wasn't quite embedded in our incident response process. We triggered something for physical security, and they go there and kick the guy out and stuff. So we had to make that part from the beginning, and that's how it changed. It brought several challenges on how are we going. It's not the same to see an IP and go looking for who is the owner of the IP, or see that the VP from finance is sending emails to another company that maybe shouldn't. Am I sure that he shouldn't be sending emails to that company? It brings us a lot of new decisions we have to take, and that they aren't even my decisions, but at least I have to raise my hand and know to who I have to go and tell. So that's how my process evolved. I don't know if that answers your question. Excellent.
Awesome. Any more questions? Hello. Okay, you go.
Thank you, Rhett. Is there any chance to get a PO from Incident Responder this Christmas? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much, Rhett. Thank you.
You tell me. You tell me. You know.
I like that question. Approved.
Yes.
Any questions? Here we go.
I think he should get a PO by the Christmas. No. I have a couple of questions. One, I would love to know, how did you hear about Exabeam in the first place? And two, this guy?
That guy.
I think
He made me.
by Christmas.
He made me put Exabeam in my test. He went to my boss, and my boss told me, "Oh, you have to add another one." When we were like testing the third for another one, really, now. And in the end, I was, to be honest, and there are several here in the room that know, I told them, no. You first let me have some SIEM, and now we can talk, because I know you go over the SIEM solution. They convinced me that Exabeam could do the UEBA solution and be my SIEM at the same time. It wasn't easy to be convinced about it, but in the end, the technology and what I saw convinced me. The spotlight last year was really eye-opening for us. So that's how we decided to make room. But we did have to not change, but adapt how we were doing we were doing the POCs for each SIEM solution, treating them as a SIEM, not as a SIEM with UEBA. And that was a different, it was different how we had to test. I can't, it's apples and oranges again. I mean, okay, yeah, it's a nice apple, but maybe I need an orange or a pear, or maybe a mango, why not? I like mango. So it was kind of hard that way, because I didn't find a rule set on how I have to test a SIEM against a UEBA. So trying to be fair to all the solutions when I was evaluating them, and for example, Exabeam licensing on users, the others licensing on EPS, other licensing on how many gigabytes or terabytes you ingest every day. So it's hard. It's hard for us to decide, is this really similar to this? That was one of the hardest parts for us when we did this. But in the end, we were able to set like the same rules, or standardize the rules for all the solutions. And still in the end, we were convinced by Exabeam, and a year later, here I am standing here telling you about Exabeam.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you showed pretty advanced usage of Exabeam. What was the process like for your team to learn how to use Exabeam? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
The first time I learned was that I have a programmer in my team, which I didn't know. He just started, he found the API page where is the documentation for the API, and he started getting reports. I told him all my ideas. To be honest, my team did everything that you're seeing. I was just the crazy guy. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can we mix this and that? Can we correlate this with this, with this? And can we do threat hunting this way in there, or do we need to use the UI? So my team did everything. I'm just the lucky guy that comes to San Francisco to tell you about it. But they, as I said, they were new toys for us. They were really excited to work with this. They are still, I tell them, can we connect this with this and get a report for this legacy system? Okay, give me a second. Oh, I'll do it. They keep surprising me with how easy it is for them to take information from Exabeam and use it for our purposes. So I guess that would be the the answer. Having I need now a data analyst to play with the models, which we haven't been able to do that. But with automation, I think I'm really proud of what my team has done in short amount of time, and I can wait for the next year where we will be what we will be doing next year with this type of scripting, if they have done it, and what we saw in the new things that are coming from Exabeam. I mean, I already told him I want all the painters, the Picasso, all the projects. I want Galileo and the inventors. I want to be part of that, and I think we have a team that can really make use of those projects. So, thank you.